Welcome to Forgotten Islam. The Battle of Nahawand holds a noteworthy place in Islamic history, often recalled to the Muslims as the victory of victories. The explanation for such a bold statement will be explained in this video. Following the successful Ridda wars under the Khalifa Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh, the Khalifa looked to liberate the lands ruled by the Persian Sasanian Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, however, passed away before truly engaging in warfare against the Persians, yet this would occur under the reign of his successor, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anh. Umar radiallahu anh defeated the Byzantines under his subordinate commander, Abu Ubaidah radiallahu anh, in the Battle of Yarmouk in 636 AD, which gave passage to the Muslim armies to turn east to the Euphrates and the heartland of the Persian Empire. Only around 3 years later, in 639 AD, the Persians were vanquished at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah under the command of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anh. Iraq had fallen to the Muslims. Now it was time to take Iran. The king of Persia, Yazdajerd III, cowardly fled from his capital Ctesiphon to the southern plateau of Iran. From there he began to reassemble a new army to suffice for the loss at Al-Qadisiyah. In 642 AD, the Persians and the Muslim army met at Nahawand to decide who will rule Persia, once and for all. The battle began with the Muslim army led by Nu'man ibn al-Maqarin radiallahu anh, who was the leader of Banu Muzayna and a strong supporter and soldier under both the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his successor Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Once again he was appointed by the Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar radiallahu anh as either a commander or a lieutenant. Under Nu'man there were many unsuccessful skirmishes with the Persians, yet giving up was not an option. Nu'man radiallahu anh began to develop a sneaky and strategical tactic to lure the Persians into their own humiliating defeat. To summarize his tactic, we can categorize them into 4 ultimate points. Number 1. A rumor should be disseminated that the Khalifa had passed away until it reaches the Persians, so overconfidence will overtake them, blinding them with boldness and arrogance. Number 2. The Muslim army should give an impression that they are retreating because of the death of the Khalifa and the resistance of the Persians, which would further encourage the Persians to chase the Muslims. Number 3. When the Persians begin to pursue the Muslims should turn around and fight the Persians. This tactic was called the feigned retreat, which had previously been used by the Numidians against the Romans in the First Punic War, as well as by Genghis Khan at the Mongol conquest of Khwarizmia in 1220 AD. Finally, in the meantime, Al-Qa'qa' ibn Amr al-Tamimi radiallahu anh was ordered to outflank or move around the side of the Persian army to outmaneuver them. Both tactics of the feigned retreat and the pincer movement worked out incredibly successful, as the Persian commanders Firozan and Mardan Shah were lured into the trap and unintentionally led his army to a miserable fate. Following the midday prayers, the Muslims eager for martyrdom fought the Persians. The battle was a bloody and truly grim one, with both armies' commanders being killed. Nu'man, who yearned for martyrdom, had been shot down by an arrow and succumbed to a most envious death, with the words "Praise be to Allah" on the tip of his tongue. His brother Na'im, in order to preserve the stability and prevent the Muslim army from becoming demoralized from the death of their commander, took the role of the commander and continued the battle. Gradually the Persians' defiance began to wither, and soon the Persians began to flee, with the Muslims pursuing from behind. The outflanking tactic worked brilliantly and heavily pressured the Persians into a full-on retreat. Out of 60,000 Persian soldiers, only 20,000 made it out alive and escaped to Hamadan. Similarly, the Muslims also suffered from heavy casualties. However, we must take into consideration that the Muslim army had an estimated 30,000 soldiers, while the Persians had an army of around 100,000 soldiers. Still, this is not a surprise, as Allah the Almighty states in His book in Surah Baqarah,
قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين.
How often by Allah's will had a small force vanquished the big one. Allah is with those who steadfastly persevere. In the aftermath of the battle, Yazdijerd III, the former Persian emperor, sought help from possible allies such as the Tang dynasty in China, the Hephthalites or the Turkish tribes, but was assassinated in Merv in 651 AD before any of these alliances could be made. His son Peroz would try regain Persian land but was unsuccessful and lived the rest of his life in China. The impact of this battle was a truly overwhelming victory for the Rashidun Caliphate, while also being the battle which annihilated the Persian imperial army. The battle also presented its significance as it allowed the Muslims to solidify their position in Iran and take a few more territories of the dissolving Persian Empire, including Isfahan. By 651, under the authority of the third Rashidun Khalifa, Uthman ibn Affan, the Muslims had taken the whole of Iran and Iraq. This battle sealed the end of the Persian era and the beginning of a new superpower, the Islamic Khilafah, which would hold this title for the next 1300 years, until its unfortunate abolishment in 1924. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos in the future.